Euphoria, a state of intense happiness, excitement, or profound well-being. It can be natural or chemical induced with drugs and alcohol. In 2019, HBO released a TV show aimed for teens and young adults that gained mass popularity and had a huge impact on the industry. This show is Euphoria, remake of an Israeli show named Euphoria, which is the same as the English counterpart. Euphoria is heavily inspired by the original show, creating characters that are an almost one-to-one copy to Euphoria, but with an original story and direction. The story itself revolves around a group of teenagers during their last years of high school, and talks about all the struggles a teen must face while growing up, from a kid to an adult. The show portrays themes of sexuality, drug addiction, and the desire of being loved and accepted by others. The show approaches these themes in a very realistic and raw way. Many times, in fact, there are scenes of people getting high or having sexual relationships and breaking down without a filter of some sort. Euphoria takes also inspirations by Skins, a British show that was the original breakthrough of this kind of series. And let me tell you, Skins is generational and deserves its own video. So the show gained popularity and also recognition for its realism and for a very solid and inspired direction. In fact, the show created a very strong and recognizable aesthetic that made it very viral on social media. But even though Euphoria's first season was a success, there were many aspects of the show that raised several eyebrows. Like the fact that the story and some characters didn't really have an actual purpose, and that the show was too much into themes of sexuality and it sometimes promoted bad and self-destructive behaviors. And if in the beginning its particular style and novelty let these things slide, the following seasons exposed the real colors of the show. To understand the true nature of Euphoria, we must discover who created the show. Samuel Levinson is an American actor, director, and screenwriter. He's the son of director Barry Levinson, who won the Oscar for Rain Man and also directed many great movies. Sam talked many times about his teenage years, revealing that he struggled with drug addiction. This was not an happy time for him, but he stated that this experience will be inspiration for Euphoria. He started his career as an actor in one of his Pops movies, and then debuted as a director in 2010. Sam didn't really have a great career up until Euphoria. In fact, the show made his fortune, introducing him to the big public and also gaining praise and recognition from the fans and the critic. And that's because Levinson is not only the director of the show, but is also the screenwriter and the co-creator, having a great power and influence on the show itself. And this is where people started noticing something off about him. Soon after the air of Euphoria's second season, many allegations about the making of the show were made, describing it as an hellish experience, with actors and extras forced to exhausting shooting sessions. The allegations also talk about background actors that were prohibited the use of restrooms and having snacks during these long sessions, with some of these actors hiding on set to avoid being called up for the shooting. This remains allegations, but also main actors like Jacob Elordi and Maud Apatow talked about sessions that lasted from 6 p.m. to 4 a.m. for the Christmas party episode, and describing these shootings as very tough, proving that these allegations have solid foundations. And this chaotic work environment is almost all Levinson's fault. In fact, many reported that he often came unprepared on set and almost freestyled the episodes, and sometimes changing the scripts on set. This resulted in shooting sessions that could last 30 minutes to 15 hours due to the lack of preparation. Levinson is also known for working without a writer's room, deciding by himself every part of the story and scripts. As you can imagine, this didn't end up very well. For instance, this slowed down the creation of season 3 of the show, forcing HBO to let free some of the actors, like Zendaya and Jacob Elordi, of working in other projects, because the script for the last season wasn't ready. Also, Sam's vision about some characters didn't always align with what the actors had in mind for them, resulting in strange and underwhelming character arcs for some of them, and most notably for Kat. Now, Kat was one of the biggest side characters in Euphoria's first season, having a lot of screen time and also the most extreme storyline of the group. But when filming season 2, Barbie Ferreira, Kat's actress, wasn't satisfied with the original plans for her character. Some insiders reported that she and Levinson had several arguments on set, ending with Barbie leaving the set not so happy about it. Now, she never talked openly about these issues, but what is sure is that her screen time dropped significantly in season 2, leaving little to no character arc. And she also decided to leave the show and to not return for season 3. And believe it or not, this is not the only time that Sam's vision sparked debate, because many times actresses like Sydney Sweeney and Minka Kelly refused to perform in nude scenes because they were too extreme and embarrassing. And this is a very controversial aspect of Levinson's projects, because many times in Euphoria and especially The Idol, but we'll get to that, the director uses female character only for their bodies and creating storylines where the female protagonist is completely submitted to male character. And actually, many have criticized his view of female protagonists, accusing him of quote-unquote male gaze. And I must tell you, I'm a male, okay? And many of these scenes are way too extreme. And this seems almost like he's giving life to his sexual fantasies in these shows. Another drama tied to Euphoria is the story of Petra Collins. Petra is a Canadian artist that became famous around the 2010s for her incredible photos that had a very distinctive style. Reminds you of something? She also actually revealed that HBO and Levinson view her style as perfect for Euphoria, and this is during the production of the first season, to be clear, and asked her to work with them into creating the show. Petra worked for 5 months defining the show vibes and atmosphere and even casting some of the actors, until HBO decided to fire her without any payment because they saw her as quote-unquote too young to work on a project this big. And if this is not enough, the creators to use all the work done by Collins without even giving her credit and basically stealing her work. Now you may be wondering, why would HBO give all this power and freedom to basically a beginner such as Levinson? Well, this opens up another drama, shocker, I know, about nepotism. With the term nepo babies, people refer to the fact that, especially nowadays, many children of famous actors, directors and so on started their Hollywood careers thanks to their parents, and getting infinite number of privileges at the expenses of talented people. Now, to be fair, nepotism existed since the dawn of civilization, but nowadays it has become almost a plague in the industry. And Levinson is a perfect example of this situation, Cause even after all the drama and hellish production process that would have got any normal director fired, he continues working on many projects, as if that's nothing. So, after this dumpster fire of production, we can now get in the merit of the actual show. And let me be honest with you, it really pisses me off. Because this show makes a good job at talking to young adults, depicting real problems that a teen must face, like finding your true value, being accepted and understood by others, and the struggle of the addiction. But at the same time, the show fails into explaining why certain behaviors are bad and almost glorifies them.
Step 2. Gaslight.
Rue is the main character of Euphoria, and we follow her journey to stay clean from her drug addiction. What I think the show does best is displaying how addiction is a demon that takes hold of someone's mind. Cause during the show, Rue understands that drugs are destroying her life, and that she is ruining also the life for her close ones, like her mother and her sister Gia. But still, she seems unable to change. So, Rue alternates moments of pure egoism and times of shame for what she does, proving that she is too weak to stay clean all by herself. But all of this is also the worst thing about her. Let me explain. In the show, Rue is an egoistic asshole most of the times. She has a loving family, a close friend group, she finds love in Jules, and hell, even her plug cares for her. But during these 3 seasons, Rue is constantly ruining the lives of everyone around her. For example, she doesn't want her mother to move on her husband's death. She steals from vets and puts him in danger. She fights with Jules and breaks up with her when she wanted to help, and she screws Kitty and Maddie and every other people very badly. To make things worse, the show never blames her for her actions. She is depicted many times as a conflicted anti-hero that is always in the right and never faces any consequences of her actions. Cause at the end of the day, she'll still have people that love her and that care for her. And even in the end, she's portrayed as this graceful figure, but in reality, she never really did anything to redeem herself. This is a big problem for Euphoria, cause it should be an helping hand for teens who struggle against addiction, showing them that there is hope for the future, but it fails terribly at it. To be honest with you, what I wanted to see for Rue is a story of redemption, where she must face and take responsibility for all her deeds, but to still break free from her addiction in the end, thanks to all her loved ones. The same problem exists for characters like Kat, Cassie, and Jules. These 3 characters, with their different stories, all talk about acceptance in the worst way possible. Kat is an overweight girl that lacks of self-confidence. During the seasons, she learns to find respect and beauty in herself. Pretty good, huh? Well, yes, except she changes by becoming a cam girl. Yeah, you heard me right. She finds herself thanks to old gooners.
It. I am owning it so good.
Next is Cassie. She's the pretty but dumb girl of the group. She's usually considered only for her looks, and she starts believing that too, becoming hungry for attention. So first she completely degrades herself to seduce the chad alpha male and being hated by everyone. And then she must pay her husband's debt, so the only logical thing to do is to start doing OnlyFans and make money.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit that I have ever heard.
Now, Jules is a big character in Euphoria. She's a transsexual girl that at the start of the show looks for her feminine side by hooking up with older men. She then falls in love with Drew because she sees what's good in her, and so Jules finds her true self. In return, she becomes very kind and supportive, especially towards Drew, becoming a fan favorite. This is until season 3 decided to change everything. In season 3, Jules has moved on with her life after breaking up with Drew. So, while she studies for her art school, she decides to make money by finding a sugar daddy, which is a fancy way of saying escort services. So, cutting it short, she ends up with an older guy that sees her only as a toy that he uses to escape from his family and his daily life. So, as you can see, the show is completely unable to create good stories for female characters. They are always used for their looks and to create plots that only revolve around toxic and physical relationships. And not only that, because they never address these situations as bad and actually promotes sex working, because Jules ends up living in a penthouse, Cassie opens up an OnlyFans agency, and Kat finds her confidence. But the problem is that we are not defined by our looks or the attention that other people give to us, let alone joining porn industry. That is downright disgusting. So, as proof that the showrunners are consciously promoting toxic relationships, we have Lexi and Fetsco. They are very different individuals. One is your smart but shy girl, while he's Rose Plug. They seem to be night and day, but they actually share passions and dreams. The two became the best couple in the show, because despite all the crap that other characters went through, they resembled real and pure love. So, because they are good people, the show decides that they don't deserve to be happy. So when Feds must go to Lexi's play at school, the fucking SWAT burst into his house, arresting him and gunning down his little brother. Yes, in the show, they kill a literal child for no reason other than shock value. But hey, incredible show, am I right? Now, as I mentioned briefly before, the worst part is that no one ever questioned Levinson about his products. Yes, has been several people that felt offended by these stories, but the show was a success at the end of the day, until The Idol came in. The Idol is another show directed by Levinson that aired after Euphoria's season 2. I won't talk much about it because it is really bad, but just know that it's like Euphoria on steroids. It only revolves around torture porn, and it stars actors that aren't real actors like Johnny Depp's daughter and The Weeknd.
Shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up! Shut up!
Many criticize the show, and the reviews shut the show down for good. And maybe people realized how Levinson works on his projects. Now, in conclusion, I am always surprised on how many fans the show collected in those years, because I get that it is pretty and well directed, to be fair. And also the fact that it has actors like Zendaya and so on had a huge impact on the perception of the show. But after following the whole story, you get that not only it totally misses the mark when talking about sensible topics, but it actually promotes awful behaviors. An interesting analysis that I have when watching Levinson's work is that he seems to create words that glorifies aspects of his personality. Almost like the show was only a tool for him to find its own sense of euphoria.
Wait, is this a fucking play about us?
And this concept is actually called compensatory fantasy, which is when an author projects his inner desires and emotions inside an imaginary world. This concept was formulated by Sigmund Freud and then used by Gerald Levinson. Holy poetic justice, right? Where he stated that the true message of a work of art is only what the viewer can feel by watching it, and not what the author states it is. So, next time you are at home or at the theater watching a movie or a TV show, and you feel that something is off or wrong, don't be afraid to share your thoughts only because someone says that the intended message is different. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.